In today's video, David Behymer and I are going to be talking about what are the differences between a loan officer and a realtor. So stick with us, subscribe, and follow for more. Welcome back to another episode of Real Pulse of Real Estate. Welcome back, David Behymer. As
Hello.
always, happy to have you joining me. The second I started that is when Crowell just jumped down the stairs.
Oh, I probably had the creepiest smile off the bat because it did that thing again where as soon as you hit record, it popped up and
Yeah, it pops up everything.
it
Yeah.
says, he's recording. Do you want to
Yeah.
leave or do you want to stay?
Also, I swear, like the camera angle is perfect that it looks like I'm just looking at nothing. But yeah, come on. Yeah, you can come up. Yeah, you're fine.
Oh,
You can come up,
no.
buddy. But he literally sits like right at he's perfect like desk height.
Yeah.
So he's just perfectly cut off of like you can't see because Jackson is down here too. But they're wild boys. So I was gonna say, where are yours?
Titus is right over there. Oh, he's looking at me now. He's taking a nap. And then Oliver's in his moody teenager stage where he just like tries to get as far away from us in the house as possible. It's really annoying.
Those corgis, man. I tell you, they're something else.
They're finicky, man. So so I think he is like in the very back, in like my back edition, in the farthest corner, laying down facing the wall.
Don't even talk to me, Dad.
Dude, he does it. But
So today's topic, other than dog breeds and why we love / hate them at times, is I wanted to go ahead and talk about I'm a realtor, you're a loan officer.
I think so.
I think that's how that works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I'll have to check the licenses again. Um, what do I do versus what do you do? Because I feel like and this is me. It's in the morning. I'm just gonna have no filter. I think a lot of our clients think we do the same shit and don't.
Oh yeah.
There's no difference in what we do for them.
I I can't tell you how many times I've been out like in social settings and like I'll have somebody who I haven't seen in a while or someone who like is like a newer friend to a group or something like that who's like, "Yeah, Dave, you're a realtor, right?" And I'm like, "No, I'm a mortgage guy. I do mortgage loans." And they're like, "So like what's the difference? Like either one of you can help me buy a house, right?" And I always say, which I may get a lot of flack from this, but I always say, I'm like, "Hey, listen," I was like, "While I always recommend you work with a realtor, you can buy a house without a realtor. It's probably going to be a nightmare for you. And like, why not hire a professional to do it? But unless you have hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash, you probably can't buy a house without me."
Mhm.
Like that's my how we split off is like, hey, yes, we both at the end of the day make you buy that house, but it splits off in the sense of, do I have hundreds of thousands of dollars? Nope. Okay, I need to talk to somebody that can get me the money to finance.
Yeah, exactly. And I honestly, I think that's a good way to put it. No flack from me. You'll probably get it in the YouTube comments,
Oh
but
yeah. Actually,
but but no, I mean, it truly is. It's not a bad way to like start the framework because
yeah.
I mean the other thing that I can completely understand is I like to know stuff about lending because I like to be competent when I talk to my clients.
Yeah.
You like to know stuff about the real estate market because you like to be competent about what you talk, like how you're talking to your clients.
Yeah.
So we like to kind of at least know what's happening in the lending world, what's happening in the Northern Kentucky market, things like that. Um, so I could talk lending, but the second you get more than a foot deep and you're taking me to the deep end of the pool, I'm like, get David, please, please talk to David about this. I'm, I, I'm like one of those. Probably this, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna guarantee. Um, I will say our last golf outing, I think, was the easiest way to kind of describe what the difference between a lender and a real estate agent was. Of we went golfing. We were up in Ohio, which was horrifying. That's so scary. I don't ever want to do it again. I got pulled over after that golf
Yeah, you
outing.
did. I forgot about
Um,
that.
yeah, 20 over. Um, and during the golf outing, which this has been every golf outing we've gone on,
Yeah.
you're on the phone
Yeah.
constantly and it happens at least once a like round where you're on the phone with someone and go, hold on, I gotta make this swing, and you put the phone down, swing, go, yeah, good thing we're playing best ball, and then pick your phone back up and talk to them again. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I, as a realtor, am mostly dealing with clients, like phone calls and questions and everything. I will get like title and lenders will reach out, but I, as a realtor, am reaching out to the lender way more often than lenders reaching out to me.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with clients, realtors, and title to a heavy
And then
effect.
Yeah, and then sometimes even you're getting, internal team,
Mhm.
be it the upfront team or, the processing team saying, "Hey, question about this. Do you know about this on their file?" Yeah, I'm kind of getting hit from all sides. So
You're
like,
dealing
and
with
that's the thing.
insurance company of what kind of documentation do you need?
I mean, usually, shameless plug for our boy Chili Dog Sam, but like
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, most of the time, if people go with him, because I mean, 9 times out of 10, if people are shopping for rates, excuse me, they Sam wins. So luckily, if people go with him, my job gets even easier because Sam works so well with our company that
Mhm.
like as soon as I get a text from a client saying, "Hey, yep, I'm going with Sam's thing," here's his quote. I can just basically immediately text my processor and say, "Hey, they're going with Sam," and
Mhm.
my job's done because then they're connect. Then I next thing you know, within 5 minutes, I see an email come across. "Hey, Sam, go ahead and send me over the insurance documentation and send me over the insurance binder. We'll get it all taken care of." So like that's the easy part. But yeah, when I'm
Mhm.
dealing with other insurance companies who maybe don't work with us as often, or the
Mhm.
big box shops and things like that, they're the ones that sometimes I'm chasing down their insurance agent. Hey, where's their insurance quote? Where's our binder? Where's the, kind of, hey, as a reminder, we still need this. This is the last condition we need to get the clear to close. So like, please get it to me. So yeah, no. So sometimes insurance agents, but luckily not too often.
Yeah, that was a good plug because he is pretty great. So,
Awesome.
but no, I do agree. Of realistically, I help find the house, you help buy the house, which at a high level, yeah, a lot of agents are like, "Let me help you buy a house." Yeah, they do help you buy it, but the actual finances in order to obtain it go through you. I'm doing this. I don't know if Zoom records the same way. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
um, but the finances go through you.
Yep.
The actual process goes through me.
Yep.
So, like, I'm dealing with title of yes, so and so is married or they're single or this is what's going on with them. This is what the back price is. We're dealing with them doing a title search, all that sort of stuff. Now,
Inspection.
yeah, inspection. I am thinking ahead when we look at houses of okay, David has this buyer at it as an FHA buyer, and we're walking through. This isn't going to pass FHA. So like I am thinking ahead on the lending side because the last thing I want to do is get my buyers under contract, go through inspection, pay for appraisal, just to have appraiser completely wipe it out and be like, this can't be FHA whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of the crazy questions I've asked you over the years of like, hey, this used to have a well, but
Oh, I remember
what do
that one.
we
Yeah.
you remember that one in
Yeah, I
Maysville?
do. Yes.
Um,
I do.
of like just random things of you and I like to kind of know because we don't want you to spend $1,000 just to be like, hey, you can't buy this house.
Yeah.
Like that's pointless. That's a waste of our time. That's a waste of your time. That's a waste of resources.
Yeah, we've even gotten to the point, and Tony on our team is like amazing about this. He's
Mm,
another shameless plug. He, as soon as somebody is like putting in an offer on a home and he sees the address, this man is immediately looking up like every, and obviously we don't have access to the MLS, so like
yeah,
we have
yeah.
to get a little more detective work with it, where like we're looking up every listing of it, every recent picture of it, and all of a sudden like Tony will see there was this one a client wanted to put an offer on with I think it was a USDA loan,
Hmm.
and or it might have been FHA. I don't. It was government either way.
Yeah.
And we were looking at the house, and as we were scanning through the pictures, like everything seemed fine. The one thing we weren't exactly super thrilled about was that it had concrete floors. It was basically like even when we talked to some of our investors about it, they were like, "Hey, I wouldn't consider this like a single family residence. This is more like a fancy shed that happens to have a room you could sleep in and a
Fair.
bathroom." But we were looking at it and like the concrete floors, okay, yeah, we can work with that. But what we noticed is in the bedroom, in the closet, you just see like a hair of a picture where you just see exposed insulation. And we
Yep.
were immediately like, hey, and we had to call the agent. We're like, listen, like, you guys do what you want. We're like, because we're in such a weird time right now where like as soon as you tell like a client or even some realtors like, hey, no, this isn't going to work that way, they're
Yeah.
immediately calling every other lender in their phone and just being like, can you do it? And every lender is so desperate right now, they're like, oh yeah, I can. And then it's a nightmare for
Mhm. And
everybody.
then they can't because they didn't actually vet anything. Yeah, no.
Yes.
And that is you're very right. That is a very unique of like I I am hired to be the bad guy. I'm sorry. I am. Like
Yeah.
I am hired to give you the bad news and be honest with you about it
Yeah.
because I don't want to waste your time. That is the exact same thing with you of, hey, I just got you through, and unfortunately your credit, we're going to need to work on it a little bit, or I'm going to need you to pay off some credit card debts in order for this transaction to be smooth.
Yes.
There are some lenders who will probably push it, but again, depending on what the situation is, all they're doing, taking them from you, is just putting these buyers in a really shitty circumstance that
Yeah.
could affect them, that could possibly put them in the situation of, yeah, you can no longer afford this house. You can't make your payments. Sorry, we're foreclosing on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're not doing it just to say no to people. We don't, like, that's not our job. Our
Yeah.
job is to help people and help people buy. But you're right, in this market, it's especially for our generation who, you want this, okay, Amazon 2 days, like
Yeah.
if that. I mean, because we live in Northern Kentucky, we have an Amazon distribution center 10
Yeah.
minutes from us. There are times I'll order something at 3 o'clock and I'll be like, okay, I'll be here at 7.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, truly, it is one of those. We don't want to give you the bad news just because, like, that's not what we're out here for.
I usually tell people like most of the bad news I have to give is lucky for me because it's all numbers.
Fair.
Like there's certain debt ratios that certain loan types just won't work with. So
Yeah.
for like I always tell people, hey, it sucks and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but at the end of the day, it's not me being a jerk, it's numbers. Like it comes down to the fact that you have a 60% debt to income ratio and you're trying to do 20% down conventional. That just doesn't fly. Like the highest you can go conventional is like 49.99. And that's like if you have excellent credit. So, but then it's, if I talk to some people and they have a, 650 score and their debt ratio is a 52, 53%. I'm like, hey, listen, this is like right on the cusp where you may have some things on your credit where, I could have two people the same, but because you have two late payments and this guy has one, he gets approved and you don't. Like it's
Yeah.
very finicky in our systems. And that's what I say at the end of the day. It's like, it's all numbers, facts, and data that comes down to, can I approve you or not? And, we can usually get a pretty good, like if I have somebody apply and they have an 800 credit score and, I see their W-2s and their pay stub and they have an insane amount of money. It's like, okay, I don't have to think about that at all. But then sometimes I get these files that are a little tighter and I'm like, all right, like, hey, just hit, and then I try to set those expectations up front. Like, hey, listen, you know, if you do apply for a credit card or rack up a higher balance and your payment changes and we have to update your credit report, anything like that, like, yeah, that can throw everything into a tailspin. So like you need to hunker down and just not do anything crazy for the next 30 days until we close or, whatever the closing date is.
Yeah.
But like, that's usually what I tell people when, because everybody sees like when lenders say like, oh, don't take on new debt, don't, blah, blah, blah. And like realistically, the biggest reason why we say that is it's not because like the second you open a new credit card, everything just comes tumbling down or
Yeah.
like anything like that. It's just, if you do any impacts to your scores, like I've had people who were right at 620, they did something to impact their scores. They went down below a 620 and they needed 620 plus to get that down payment assistance program.
Yep.
So then we have to take a pause, maybe delay closing, do some sort of rapid rescore to get their scores back up, or maybe their debt to income ratio was right on the cusp where that extra $50 a month payment tipped them over and now they no longer approved and we have to now pay off debts at closing. So
Yeah.
there's usually ways around it, but that's why like the general rule of thumb is just like, hey, please don't do anything.
Yeah. And that's the kind of nice part is that you're talking about is your bad news is stats related. Like it's fact.
Yeah.
It's these are the numbers. This is what it is. My bad news is, hey guys, I know we want to go see this, like your number one choice at 4 o'clock, and then we were going to see two others after. Unfortunately, the 4 o'clock, your number one choice, just went pending and under contract, and we can't see it now. I don't have stats or facts for you because most of the time listing agents aren't telling you, hey, this is the exact reason why I went under contract before you're showing. Other aspects are, hey, I know we just went 20 grand over. This was a few years ago. This has calmed down a little bit, but I know we went 20 grand over asking price. I know we offered everything we could and we made your offer the strongest you can make your offer. Unfortunately, we didn't get it against 10 other offers.
Yeah.
And that turns into, well, where did we rank? I don't know. They won't. Like some will tell you, some won't. Why didn't they pick ours? I don't know. Like I'd say 10% of listing agents tell you why not yours versus others.
Yeah.
Same with, they won't tell me the one they took unless it's a like extremely close friend of mine who know I won't take it the wrong way. Like I think only one time I was told, yeah, we took this offer over yours, with the exact details.
Got
Um,
it.
and it's one, a lot of agents won't talk about it because they want to see what happens appraisal wise.
Yeah.
And they don't want to jinx it. But again, that's the bad news I'm giving, is a lot of, I'm not sure
Emotional.
why. I just gotta give it to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. The another different aspect between you and I'm walking through the houses, you're not.
Oh
um,
yeah.
which is why it does help to have a team like you and I pair up of, okay, David, I have a couple of questions about, like, we're going this loan wise. Here's a picture of a outlet, like faceplate missing. Like, is that going to be an issue, or things like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there are things I will be able to see that the MLS photos, doesn't matter if you're on the MLS or not, purposely angled it a
Yeah.
certain way because they don't want you to see things.
Yeah.
They want you to see the house and buy it. So yeah, there is a different aspect of that. Of, I've never had a loan officer go to showings with me.
Never
That's
been
not
on
the
one.
norm. That's not the norm whatsoever. If I did have a loan officer go on showings with me, I'd honestly be a little concerned if they weren't like the dad of the buyer or the mom of the buyer.
I do occasionally have people who are like, they'll start like telling me things about the house like I was there with them. Like
Mhm.
they're like, yeah, do you remember like, yeah, and then the backyard, like blah blah blah, and you got this. And I'm like, man, I'm just going off of the Zillow pictures. Like I can't
Mhm.
see anything. Although actually I should take that back because I in solidarity with all my realtors, I purposefully will scroll past Zillow and click on like realtor.com or something like that because I'm like, I won't support their
Yeah,
clicks,
fuck you
their
guys.
SEO.
Yeah.
I literally will scroll past it and go. Plus, I like realtor.com anyway more because they actually will show at the top like what county it's in. Because
Hmm.
there's times where I've looked up an Erlanger property that happens to fall into Boone County,
Yep.
and Independence that falls into or the Independence that falls into Boone, or
Boom.
Florence falls into Kenton, and I'm like, because I'll be sitting there on the PVA trying to look up taxes, and I'm like, it doesn't exist. And then I'm
Yep.
like, oh, realtor.com says it's actually in the opposite county I didn't even think of. So
Yep.
that's another reason why I will always choose Realtor over Zillow.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. I do use Zillow periodically just to, like, Zestimate isn't always accurate, but sometimes I'll just screenshot it because some of these estimates are wild. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
just texted it to clients being like, hey, I mean, we bought 3 years ago, and remember what we bought for versus what this is showing you now. Isn't that crazy?
Your house is now
Um,
worth $1 million. Isn't it nuts?
literally. Yeah, so I've had, I put on my Instagram story, tell me what you bought your house for versus what your Zestimate is now.
Yeah.
I think you put on, I think you commented on that one.
Yeah.
I had 18 responses. I think the lowest was they bought last year and had 30,000 in equity. The
Yeah.
average was 75,000 in equity. Um, so it's definitely been something to, like, notate of. It's an interesting time for people who bought, like, in the last 5 years, realistically.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Another difference between a lender and a real estate agent is me being a little trolly. You ask me to get coffee, I go to get coffee to hear about your different unique programs and lending styles. And
I will never forget, and I've always kept this in mind, like throughout my entire career as a lender, that, and I don't even know if you remember telling me this, but it was you and I, when I was leaving multifamily, you and I met up at the Gruff to get
Mhm.
lunch.
Yeah.
And all you said is, hey, be careful who you ask to go out to lunch with, because there's a like a little joke amongst realtors
Mhm.
that if you ever want a free lunch or free coffee,
Mhm.
text a lender and ask about their products. And
Yep.
and it's so true, because it's like anytime, if I get so excited if a realtor ever hits me up like, hey man, you want to grab coffee and like talk mortgages, I'm like, I will buy you whatever you want from this coffee shop. Just come listen to me. So it's and so like I have kept that in mind, where like if there is somebody who maybe has never even had an inkling of working with me or something like that, and all of a sudden out of the blue they're just hitting me up, and it's like, you coming at me with the best intentions. Like I like have to put that wall up of like, what are you trying to get at here? What are you trying to get away with?
What
But
do you want?
yeah.
No, and that's not to shit on people who do ask people to get coffee or lunch or whatever. Um, I will say in the Northern Kentucky area, it is so common, especially when you join. Like when I joined my first brokerage, it wasn't as common because they were like, we work with this lender and this lender only, and there was like no like networking outside of that.
Yeah.
When I joined Keller Williams, the amount of friend requests, the amount of like texts, the amount of emails that I got of like, hey, you want to grab coffee? Hey, you want to like, because now it's like, oh, you're at Keller Williams, I'm trying to work with you.
Yeah.
It was insane. I mean, I probably had 12 hey, want to grab coffees or lunch within the first like month of me being there.
Yeah.
And it's not to say it's a bad way to network. It's just truly there is this stigma, as at least in the Northern Kentucky area, the lender isn't going to provide value. They're just going to say, hey, here are all the products that I make that are unique to me. And yet most of those products are going to be the same, just
Oh yeah.
worded differently across the different lending brokerages. It's There are lenders like yourself that send out like you sending out that video of like, hey, here's actually in layman's terms what's going on this week, just so you're aware, because things are changing at a weekly basis.
Oh yeah.
It's providing that value. But the coffee and lunch, there's this feeling of agents where it's like, I'm just going to go get something for free and then leave and then completely forget about this person. And they're going to hand me a folder of like, hey, here's like a little trinket and a little like fidget spinner with my logo on it. Don't forget
Yeah.
me. And that goes at the bottom of my like passenger seat floor in the car. And then I forget about it until I clean out my car and throw things away. Um, that is truly that's the norm
Yeah.
of lenders courting realtors. You a little different. You handle, I think, and I don't know if I tainted it with that conversation at the Gruff of that, but like it is good to grab. We grab lunch and everything, right? Like we grab coffee and everything,
Yeah.
but it definitely is one of those. You've gone a more unique way of, okay, let me provide value to you and understand that I'm not dicking around here, and you should use me.
There's a lot of times where I just like half the time I meet up if I'm meeting up with realtors because like at the end of the day, like especially in our area, you know how it is. I mean,
Mhm.
people work with people that they've known for years or liked. Honestly, at
Yes.
some point, there's so many lenders in this area that and realtors in this area that
Yep.
half the time people aren't even using people because they know they're the best. They're using them because like, oh, we went to high school together. So like obviously I
Mhm.
have to send them some business. And it's so like honestly, it's to such a degree now that like people aren't going to work with me if we don't mesh, if we don't get along,
Mhm.
or they don't see that like, oh, we could be friends outside of work. Like so half the time I started sitting down with realtors and I'm just like, listen, I'm not here to pitch you on myself of why I have the lowest rates or I can close on time. Well, appraisers are slow, everybody's slow. So like
Mhm.
even telling someone you could close in 21 days or less is not even that crazy anymore because I mean, I can get an appraiser out to a property within 24 hours, 48
Yeah.
hours without even requesting a rush. So like it's at a point, it's, hey, I want to learn about you and do we mesh well together? Because if we don't, then, this can pretty much die right here in this coffee shop and there's no point of us going any further. So, I mean, it's like I try to take a new approach just because at the end of the day, like when I first started, I used to meet up with realtors and I was like, oh, I answer my phone outside of office hours and I'm here I can close a loan quick and I got the best rates in the market. And it's like, okay, yeah, little boy. Yeah, you got everything you want. All right, cool.
It truly is like not all lenders are created equal. I have my three that I love using. Not all realtors are created equal. I know you have yours that you love using because it is such a different dynamic when you have a good support group all the way through. Great realtor, great lender, great title, great insurance. It is so nice when all power like twins activate and come together and just uniquely bring value to the client throughout the entire thing. Because I've had clients who have bought with different agents, who have bought in different states, and they've said so. I mean, the most recent one that why can't all transact just be this smooth?
Oh yeah, no, that's literally that's exactly because I was thinking about it. He went with you, he went with me, and then he went with Sam.
Sam,
Like
yeah, yeah.
literally, it was. I mean, we did the work up front, obviously, which and that's what I always tell people too, because like sometimes I get people who get mad at me and they're like, why are you asking for my pay stubs? I just got pre-approved with this online lender, and I didn't have to provide them anything. And I'm like, well, that's the difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval. I don't do pre-quals because they're just BS. And like I've even shown people, and I want to make a video on it, but I got to try to figure out how I can censor names and things out where I go to an
Yep.
online lender site and like, I mean, I could put in there, my name's Bill Gates and I make $1 million a year. And within 5 minutes, I'm going to get a pre-approval letter that says I can buy a $40 million home.
Mhm.
And like I've shown people this and I'm like, do you believe I'm the CEO of Microsoft? Like, look at me right now. Do I look like Bill
Yep.
Gates? No. Okay, cool. So I'm probably not Bill Gates. And that's the difference between a pre-qual and a pre-approval. Pre-approval is I'm actually gathering your documents and saying, yes, this person can afford this home. And that's exactly what we did with that client.
Mhm.
And because I know at first he was even kind of thrown off because he was like, hey, man, like, do we really need to provide all this? And I'm
All
like, dude, I'm
this, yeah.
telling you, the more you provide me up front, the less I got to ask for later. And
Mhm.
why why stress over inspections and
Yeah.
negotiations? And now you got me on the back end. Hey, I need this, I need this, I need that.
Yep.
Don't do it. Just get me everything I need up front. At the end of the day, like everybody acts like, oh, lenders are asking for your blood type and your firstborn. But like I always tell people, I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, I just need to see your pay stubs, your W-2s, your tax returns, whatever I can see that verifies you make X amount a year and that it makes sense that you told me you make this and your tax returns, W-2s, whatever say, yep, they pair up. And you tell me you got 100,000 in the bank and I see a bank statement that has $100,000. Okay, those are I always tell people like the two main things I need is that. Now, if I start to see some weird things on a file, someone's putting in, child support, adoption, alimony income, things like that. Okay, yeah, maybe I need to dig a little deeper and make sure that is stable and likely to continue. But like for the most part, I'm not trying to get your blood type. I just want to make sure you can afford this house and you're not going to go belly up in the next after your first two payments. So
Yeah.
that's
Which
what I
thank
tell
God,
people.
because I do not know my blood type.
I don't
I
either.
to this day,
I
I've done
couldn't even
so
tell
many
you.
labs for like St. E of like blood labs and everything, and then I'm like, oh, like they'll tell me, and no, apparently
Yeah.
you have to specifically request them to take blood to run a test to tell you what your blood type is. And my doctor even told me, he's like, it's a waste of time and it's super expensive. Just go donate your blood and they'll tell you. I'm like,
Huh.
oh, so yeah, fun fact. Let me ask you this because I'm always curious on a lender's opinion. Who
Oh,
should a buyer reach out to first? A realtor or a lender?
I personally, I know everybody calls the realtor, and I mean, I did the exact same thing when I bought my house. So like,
Yeah,
it's
fair.
it's just a natural thing. Like, I want to buy a house, I need to call a realtor. Realistically, though, I do think they need to call a lender, be it a bank, be it their bank, be it somebody they know that does mortgages, anything. Because at the end of the day, you're going to call a realtor, and the first thing the realtor is going to say is, "Oh, you should call you before I show you anything."
Mhm.
You need to call a lender and see what you can afford because I don't want to be showing you $400,000 houses when you can only afford 250 and below.
Yeah,
So
but we say it nicer of like, oh, like we don't want to leave it out of we're looking at $175,000 houses and it turns out you can afford up to 225 and be a little bit
yeah,
more comfortable. Yeah, we'll put it a little bit nicer than that, Dave. Come on.
spin it. Yeah, spin it in the good light. Yeah. So I mean, I would say obviously I always I would rather people come to me so that way I can get them pre-approved. And the few times that I do have people do that, it's really nice for me to be able to give it to my realtors and say, hey, here's somebody on a silver platter. They're already pre-approved. They're ready to shop. I've already vetted them. Like, how much nicer is that even on your guys' front to like have somebody call you and they're ready to go, not, hey, I'm ready. And then you send them back to me. And then we find out that they have a 480 credit score and that we need to do a lot of credit repair to get them back to be able to start shopping. Like, it's just, you're cutting out the, hey, I called a realtor, your realtor sent you to a lender, and then now we're going back and we're just going in a circle. You can just call a lender, find out what you can approve, and then either, because I always tell people too, I'm like, because I never step on toes or anything. Obviously, I want all of my clients who come to me before a realtor, I want them to work with you and my other referral partners that I love working with. But like, I always lead off by saying, hey, do you have a realtor that you plan on working with, or would you prefer me to connect you with one that I trust and work with?
Mhm.
And if they're like, oh, nope, my mom used this person, this is who I use, this is who my parents, like everybody in my family
My
uses, don't use.
cousin's married
Yeah.
sister. Yeah, yeah.
I just go totally cool because at the end of the day,
Mhm.
I get to meet a new realtor and maybe I get to wow them with my service and show them. Or at the end of the day, my client's happy and I'm not being a weirdo like, oh, no, I'd really prefer you to work with so and so. Like, I don't want to be that guy. So, but then when they come to me and they're like, hey, you know what? I would like you to connect me with someone that you trust. And I'm like, great, because now this is going to be easy for all of us.
Yep. Yeah, and that is a good way to put it. I I think it's such a loaded question when people are like, should I talk to a realtor or a lender first? Specifically because this is me just going egotistical. I am very different than most realtors in the Northern Kentucky area,
Yep.
where I have a buyer consult. I have first, what I like to do is have a discovery call. A discovery call is literally all of 15 to 30 minutes talking to you of what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about doing? Are you renting? Is it a lease? Are you owning currently? Do we need to figure out what the net of your owning situation is? Okay, great. Within the 50, I mean, I realistically within 5 minutes, I can tell you if it's a good time for them to buy or sell, right?
Yeah.
So I have that discovery call. Okay, that discovery call goes well. I think it's time to talk more. Then I have a consult. In that consult, I'm talking to them of, okay, here's at a high level what you can expect to pay out of pocket for down payment, for closing costs, for inspection, for appraisal, things like that.
Yeah.
Does that make you nervous? And if it makes them nervous, we have that conversation of, okay, we don't really need to talk to a lender right now. You're like you're 8 months down the road. Or they're having this conversation of, yeah, our lease in the discovery call, our lease isn't up for another, we just signed a year. Okay, then it doesn't make sense to get a pre-approval right now because pre-approval letters are going to last you 3 months. Unless you just want to know what your buying power is, understanding that, yeah, if we hit your, if we do a hard pull for your credit, it'll come back up.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things to be aware it will dip for a hot second. So having those kind of conversations, or going with what you do of, hey, this is everything. Let's do a soft pool of credit just for now, just to kind of get an overview. So like I have a little bit more of a unique approach
Yeah.
of, okay, it's really not even worth your time to talk to a lender right now. You're a year out. I'm going to keep you updated on how things are going, things like that. I talked to David about a soft pool, just so we understand numbers, things like that. But it's the reason I prefer doing it that way, because not I would say maybe 10% of agents in the Northern Kentucky market have a buyer consult. I have a buyer consult before any time anybody goes to buy.
Yeah.
I'm even having that buyer consult. I don't care if you've bought this home and we're talking about selling this home. We're now having a buyer consult about buying and selling at the same time in the current market that we're dealing with. But the reason I like to have that conversation is because I've had those buyers who are like, yeah, I just got pre-approved with Fifth Third my bank. Like I just walked in and said I want to buy a house and they have me pre-approved now. And one, dear God, I don't, Fifth Third makes me cringe so hard. And I'll just say that publicly. Like I will. I've had my worst transactions in my life. Over 120 homes sold have been Fifth Third. I rank them, I color organize them. They are their own unique red. I like to go in to, is it worth you getting pre-approved? Let me help you walk through this.
Yeah.
And let me see what the numbers actually are.
Yeah.
But yeah, 9 times out of 10, it is just going to be a realtor saying, what are you pre-approved to? Do you have a pre-approval letter? I won't show you a single house until you have a pre-approval letter.
Yeah.
I will show before a pre-approval letter. And there's a whole bunch of agents screaming at me right now. I will show one home before a pre-approval letter. The reason is, and I set this up in my buyer consult, I call it the dummy house. This is a home of, I don't care that you're looking, I don't need your criteria of Boone, Campbell, Kenton up to 250. I'm going to show you a home on market that if it went pending before we got to see it, you'd go, okay, whatever. It's going to match that criteria. It's going to match the whatever, I don't really care criteria. The reason being, I just want to walk you through, especially since I deal with a lot of first-time home buyers. This is what to expect when you're walking through a house. Because I have realized showing one dummy home either encourages them and gets them excited to get pre-approved, or gets them of, yeah, I'm not ready for this. I don't feel ready. And okay, you don't feel ready, we're going to hold off. The ones who do get excited and do get pre-approved then feel a lot more comfortable walking into the homes that actually matter and meet their criteria, and allows for us to make an offer faster. And that's not to say I'm trying to rush the process. What I'm trying to say is, in the markets that we've been in, where it was, you have 30 seconds to decide. That's a lot of pressure for a buyer. So I like to set them up of, hey, you're familiar with what the process is now. We're going to write an offer. Is that okay? And me showing a dummy house allowed buyers to be a lot more comfortable and go, okay, yeah, let's write, which helped them win more often than not.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, it's because that's the thing. I mean, and like you said, the market that we've been in, it's been this way for a while in our area.
mhm,
It's really crazy because like I even remember, I mean, we bought our house in 2018, and I remember there was a house we saw in Southgate. Sarah and I fell in love with this house, and we were like, it was at like the top of our budget at the time, and we were like, you know what, we love this house, we can make it work. We lived on the double A in Cold Spring, so literally driving from Southgate to Cold Spring in
mhm,
2018, which was, I think it took us 10 minutes to get home. We got home, immediately texted our realtor and said, hey, we want to submit an offer. Let's do it.
mhm.
He texted us back immediately and said, I'm so sorry, it's already pending.
Yep.
I mean, like
Yeah.
that was 2018. That was when rates were still high fours, low fives. Like
Mhm.
it was before everything dropped and people were going nuts. Like we lost a house in 10 minutes of seeing it. Like it's
Yeah.
and that's how even and I feel like now it's kind of calming down in certain areas, certain home prices. Like I just ran numbers on one the other day. It was a beautiful home in Alexandria, around I think it was around like the 340, 350 range. And I saw that it's been on the market for 30 days.
Mhm.
And like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You look at the house, it's a beautiful house. It was built like I think 3 or 4 years, like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. I don't know, not anything too crazy, but it's just been sitting on the market and it's like, okay, well, yeah, I guess it does make sense because that 350 price range, I feel like is that tipping point where
It really is. Yeah.
people are starting to get a little pickier. People are starting to look for, oh no, I want to be exactly in this area. If I'm going to be in Campbell County, I want to be in Cold Spring or something like, people start to get a little pickier there. But if that house was 250, it wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes.
Yeah, and that's realistically in the Northern Kentucky area, and specifically Northern Kentucky. When I say Northern Kentucky area, I'm not referring to like Westchester, Cincinnati,
Yeah.
Ohio. In the Northern Kentucky area, Campbell, Kent, Boone, realistically, our market right now, if it's realistically above 325, there's a slowdown
Yeah.
comparatively. I'm still getting into multiples in the 175 to 225 range.
Oh, yeah.
Anything below 175 is really a house that needs to be fully gutted and dealt with an investor and everything right now, unless it's a condo. However, once you get above the 325, I'm showing some out of town clients some like 350, 375 range. We're not liking it. People with these interest rates want their dollars to count for everything they can.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't just slap up for 350 and go, yeah, the kitchen needs updated, but whatever. Like, no, that should have been done. Like
Yeah.
that
Doesn't happen
it's
anymore. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not going to pay top dollar with an 8% interest rate for your house and then also have to put $20,000 into the kitchen. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that is definitely happening a lot more. It is very interesting to have that conversation in buyers consults of, depending on your price range, we can either negotiate money off the sales price, or we're going to be in multiples and talking about, okay, we need highest and best by this time. It's not
Yeah.
happening as frequently, but it really just depends on their price point.
Yeah. No, 100%.
So, all right, I know we were going to go ahead and talk about some local things and everything, but it's also getting close to your next meeting appointment. So I think we just save that as well as the holiday discussion
Yep.
for next week. We will need to find a different time because we'll be in Keeneland on our normal recording days.
Let's just
Um,
stand in front of a screen together and we'll have mint juleps in our hand. And we'll just
if Adam from 360 is going to be there, he'll hold the phone for us and we'll just talk for 30 minutes on
he'll
the
just
bus while we
but it'll be like this.
well, and he'll also be making comments from behind.
Yeah. You just hear him laugh and giggle in the background.
Yeah, literally. But
Maybe we do like Wednesday or something.
yeah, that's fine. Is Chili Dog coming too?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Dog never misses an event.
Yeah, exactly. So just let me know which bus has more champagne on it.
Yes.
Um,
We'll just start stealing it again.
but all right, David, I appreciate it. And we will talk next week.
Yep. I'll see you, man.
All right, bye.